Welcome to another episode of Broadheads You've Never Heard of, where we talk about broadheads from the past, the present, and the future that you've probably never heard of. Whether it's a small company that makes a great design and just never got enough credit, or it's a big company that made a shitty design that never should have made it to market. We talk about it here. Today we're talking about a broadhead that I'm sure many of you have probably never heard of, because it was a small company and they weren't around very long, but at the time they made something very unique. A fun fact, this is the broadhead I used to shoot my very first deer ever. We're talking about the Nextra Archery Clean Kill Broadhead. Now, at first look, it is kind of space age looking. It looks pretty cool. And if you kind of pay attention to the design, you can tell it's made to work similar to a Schwacker, where it penetrates first and then the main blades open. So upon penetration, you get a 1-inch 3-blade cutting diameter hole. And then after it goes through hide and ribs, the broadhead opens up to a massive 3.5-inch cutting diameter. This thing at the time was insane. It came along in a time where the most massive cut you can make wasn't really the rage. Speaking of rage, rages were around, but they were still only a 2-inch 2-blade, whereas this was a 3.5-inch 3-blade. So for the time, it was definitely a very unique broadhead. Now, it's a stainless steel tip with an aluminum ferrule and stainless steel blades. They are not very durable blades. Now, in my last video for the Atom, I had a lot of you ask, how does it perform? So I'll tell you how this performed on my first deer. It did perform very well. I shot her at 20 yards broadside. She ran about 50 yards and piled up. The downside is I didn't get a whole lot of penetration, as you could imagine with that 3.5-inch cutting diameter. At the time, I was shooting 28 inches at 70 pounds. My arrow was probably going 240 feet a second, if I had to guess, just based on the bow I was shooting back then. And I blew through one lung and then only got about that much penetration through the second lung. So it was enough to be a double lung, but nothing insane. The forum that I discovered these on, Broadhead Talk back in the day, I did see many pictures of guys blowing massive exit holes through deer, but all those guys were shooting very heavy arrows with 30+ inch draw lengths at 80+ pounds. So this is definitely a monstrous broadhead to try to push and get any kind of penetration out of, but it was cool nonetheless. So my question to you is, would you shoot this broadhead?